There are stories that are meant to be forgotten, not because they are unimportant, but because remembering them feels uncomfortable, heavy, wrong. Across the world, in different decades and cultures, people have experienced moments that changed them forever. Moments where logic failed, where fear appeared without warning, where something unseen made itself known. This is not a compilation of myths or internet horror. These are documented events, police reports, medical records, witness testimonies, people who never wanted attention, never asked to be believed, and in many cases never fully recovered. As you listen, don't rush. These stories are not meant to be consumed quickly. They unfold slowly, the same way the fear did. Each case begins calmly, normally. A house, a family, a trip, a place that looks harmless in daylight. And in every case, there is a moment when everything changes. A sound, a movement, a feeling that something is terribly wrong. What makes these stories disturbing is not what people saw. It's what they felt, the certainty that they were no longer alone. Stay with this video until the end, because the final story does not come from the past. It comes from the modern world, captured on camera, watched by millions, and still unexplained. We begin with a house that looked perfect from the outside and became impossible to live in from the inside. In 1975, the Lutz family moved into a house in Amityville, New York, hoping for a new beginning. The home was large, affordable, and located in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing about it suggested danger. What the family could not escape was the house's past. 1 year earlier, 6 members of the defy family were murdered inside those walls while they slept. The crime was officially closed. The house was cleaned. Life moved on. But almost immediately after moving in, the Lutz family noticed subtle changes. Every night, George Lutz woke up at exactly 3:15 a.m., the same time the murders occurred. Rooms felt unnaturally cold. Doors opened and slammed without explanation. Objects were no longer where they were left. The children spoke of voices whispering their names. One described a figure with glowing eyes watching from the darkness. A priest who attempted to bless the house later reported hearing a voice order him to leave, followed by sudden illness. As days passed, George's behavior changed. He became angry, distant, and obsessed with the house. His wife described a constant feeling of being watched. After only 28 days, the family fled, leaving nearly everything behind. Whether exaggerated or not, one fact remains. They left in fear, and they never returned. The next case, however, would not involve just one family. It would involve witnesses trained to observe reality itself. In 1977, in Enfield, England, the Hodgson family began hearing knocking sounds from inside their home. At first, they ignored it. Old houses make noise, pipes shift, wood settles. But this was different. Furniture began moving without being touched. Beds shook violently, toys flew across rooms. The children claimed invisible hands were lifting them from the floor. Terrified, the family called the police. When officers arrived, they witnessed a chair slide across the floor on its own. The event was officially recorded. What happened next was worse. One of the children began speaking in a deep, hoarse voice that did not belong to her. The voice claimed to be a man who had died in the house. It described details of his life and death that were later verified. Investigators spent months inside the house. Audio recordings captured disturbing conversations. Journalists, skeptics, and researchers witnessed events firsthand. Some believed parts were exaggerated. Others argued no child could maintain such behavior under constant observation. The house eventually fell silent, but the recordings remain. And so does the question. If this was not a hoax, Then what was speaking? In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers set out into the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were not beginners. They were trained, disciplined, and familiar with extreme conditions. Their journey was documented, planned, and carefully prepared. None of them returned. When rescue teams finally located the campsite, what they discovered immediately raised alarms. The group's tent had been torn open from the inside, not carefully cut, ripped, as if leaving was more urgent than survival itself. Footprints led away from the tent in multiple directions, some barefoot, some wearing only socks. The temperature that night had dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. Any experienced hiker would know that leaving shelter in those conditions meant death. The bodies were found days later, scattered across the mountainside. Some had died of hypothermia. Others showed massive internal injuries, broken ribs, crushed skulls, injuries comparable to a high-speed car crash. Yet their skin showed no signs of external trauma. One hiker was missing her tongue and eyes. Another showed traces of radiation. There was no avalanche, no signs of a fight, no evidence of another group. The terrain did not explain the injuries. The weather did not explain the panic. The official investigation concluded with a chilling phrase: "Death caused by an unknown compelling force." The case was sealed. Decades later, theories would emerge: secret military weapons, infrasound causing uncontrollable fear, unidentified aerial phenomena, or something far less understood. What terrified 9 trained adults enough to abandon their only shelter? And if fear can exist without a visible source, what happens when it learns to speak? In the early 1800s, in rural Tennessee, the Bell family encountered something that did not hide in silence. It announced itself, it answered questions, and it seemed to enjoy being heard. The presence identified itself as Kate. At first, it made its existence known through knocking sounds and scratching on the walls. Soon, it escalated. Objects were thrown, blankets were pulled from beds, children were slapped by invisible hands. Unlike typical hauntings, this entity spoke clearly. It held conversations, it mocked prayers, it argued with visitors. Neighbors came not to see the ghost, but to hear it. Its primary target was John Bell, the head of the household. He was choked, weakened, and tormented nightly. Witnesses reported seeing his face swell during attacks. His health deteriorated rapidly with no medical explanation. After his death, a strange vial was found in the home. When the liquid inside was tested on a cat, it killed the animal instantly. According to multiple accounts, the entity celebrated John Bell's death aloud. Even future U.S. President Andrew Jackson reportedly visited the property. His men were attacked during the night, and the group fled before morning. The Bell Witch case is one of the few paranormal events documented by first-hand written accounts from the time it occurred. And according to local legend, the entity never left. But not all hauntings use words. Some express themselves through violence. In the late 1960s, the Pritchard family moved into a modest home in Pontefract, England. Within days, their lives began to unravel. This was not a slow haunting. It was immediate, aggressive, physical. Beds shook violently in the middle of the night. Furniture lifted off the ground. Children were thrown across rooms by unseen forces. The family reported being scratched, bruised, and attacked repeatedly. Investigators were called. Unlike many cases, evidence was not limited to personal testimony. Audio recordings captured deep, guttural growls and threatening voices. On tape, the entity could be heard breathing heavily, whispering and issuing commands. The presence became known as the Black Monk, believed to be connected to a nearby medieval monastery. Witnesses described a dark, humanoid figure. Others never saw anything at all, only felt its force. Walls were damaged, furniture was destroyed, Psychological trauma lingered long after the activity faded. Even skeptics admitted the intensity and duration of the case were unusual. This was not fear caused by imagination. It was fear caused by impact. And as terrifying as a violent presence inside a home can be, some entities do not stay confined to walls. Some follow families, some stay for years. For the Smurl family, fear was not a single event. It was a condition that lasted for years. In the late 1970s, the family moved into a duplex in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, expecting nothing more than a normal life. At first, the disturbances were small, strange noises, foul odors that appeared suddenly and vanished without explanation, objects slightly out of place. Then the activity escalated. Appliances turned on by themselves. Loud crashes echoed through empty rooms. The family reported being pushed, scratched, and physically assaulted by an unseen force. At night, beds shook violently. During the day, a heavy presence lingered in the air. What made the case especially disturbing were the claims of sexual assault. Family members described being touched and attacked while fully awake, unable to move or defend themselves. A dark, shadowy figure was reportedly seen watching from doorways and corners. The Smurls sought help from the church. Priests investigated and confirmed something was wrong. Eventually, well-known demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren examined the home, claiming it was infested with multiple entities, including a powerful demonic presence. Skeptics argued psychological stress or exaggeration, but neighbors, visitors, and clergy witnessed disturbing events firsthand. The haunting did not end quickly. It followed the family emotionally long after they left the house. This was not a place that wanted attention. It wanted control, and some locations don't attack families directly. They let the environment do the work. At the base of Mount Fuji lies Aokigahara Forest, a place where sound feels unnatural. Footsteps seem muted. Wind moves strangely between the trees. Many visitors describe an immediate sense of unease, as if the forest itself is aware of their presence. Compasses malfunction. Phone signals disappear. Batteries drain without reason. Even experienced hikers report disorientation, despite clear paths. But it is the silence that affects people most. Some visitors report hearing whispers carried through the trees. Others hear their names spoken softly, just beyond visibility. Shadowy figures are seen between trunks, vanishing when approached. Local legends say the spirits of the dead wander the forest, unable to leave. Paranormal researchers believe the area holds intense emotional energy, absorbed over decades. Whether psychological or supernatural, one fact remains consistent. People feel watched. Aokigahara does not chase. It waits. And when people leave, they often describe feeling as though something almost followed them out. The forest does not need walls. It surrounds you. The Sally House in Atchison, Kansas, looks ordinary, small, quiet, forgettable. Inside, it is none of those things. Visitors initially believed the presence was a child spirit named Sally. At first, the activity seemed playful. Lights flickered, toys moved, soft footsteps echoed through rooms. Then the mood changed. Visitors reported scratches appearing on their bodies, deep claw marks, bruises, sudden bursts of rage and emotional instability. One investigator was violently attacked, left bleeding, with visible marks captured on camera. Audio recordings suggested manipulation, deception, a presence that fed on fear and confusion. Many now believe the child was never a child at all, but a mask used to lower defenses. Those who stayed too long reported long-term psychological effects, nightmares, anxiety, an overwhelming sense of being followed. Fear was not accidental, it was intentional. And finally, we reach a case from the modern world, one recorded, one shared, one still unanswered. In 2013, surveillance footage from the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles spread across the internet. The video showed a young woman, Elisa Lam, inside an elevator. Her behavior was strange, hesitant, fearful. She stepped in and out repeatedly, pressed multiple buttons, peered into the hallway as if someone unseen stood just out of frame. At one point, she gestured and spoke to something that was not visible. Days later, her body was found in a rooftop water tank. The tank's lid was closed. There were no signs of forced entry, no clear explanation for how she got there. Authorities ruled it an accident, but questions remain. Why did hotel guests report dark, foul-tasting water before her body was found? Why did the elevator behave strangely in the footage? And what was Elisa reacting to? Whether paranormal or tragic coincidence, the case remains unresolved. And as this video ends, one thought lingers. Some stories do not end because the truth has not finished revealing itself. And sometimes, it is still watching,